Good morning, everyone. Sarah here. How are you all doing? As you can see, I am sitting inside a pyramid. It's a copper pyramid. And I just thought I'd talk today about how we can practically help ourselves with all this stuff that's going on, that's filling our minds a lot, the world affairs, world events, and how we can work to lessen the impact on ourselves. So if you're sitting comfortably, hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you so much. So this pyramid I bought from a company in Estonia, a family, and this is not a paid ad, by the way, it's just sharing the information. A family-run business who makes pyramids. And I'll put the link in the description box after. Excuse me. And this is a Nubian pyramid, so it's has much steeper angle to it. I think it's a 70-degree angle, as opposed to the Giza pyramid, which has a much wider, if that's the right word, angle. So this is more like a isosceles triangle or something else, and the other one is more sort of flattened out, like the Giza pyramids. But they're equally as effective and as powerful. And there's a lot of science written on the effects of pyramid power, if you like. It's very healing to be able to sit inside one, and I can actually stand up. I'm not very tall, I'm 5'3" or something, but I can stand up without my head touching the top. And it's about 4 foot wide. Sorry, early morning cough. And I find that, well, I've had some profound experiences actually inside the pyramid. The first time I sat in here and meditated, I experienced a feeling that there was something else in here with me that was quite big, and it was taking up all the space around me, kind of squashed in by the sides. I'm not entirely sure what that was. It was benevolent anyway. It was, I didn't feel threatened or any negative energy, but it was just something that filled the space. And I'm going to say it was kind of like, I don't know, I don't want to say what I thought it was, but it felt very powerful, very grounding, and it was curled up around me, filling the space. Each time I've been inside, I've also had a feeling of a very hot head, as if something is coming down, quite a slight pressure as well, but very warm, very warm, noticeably much hotter than before I got into the pyramid. I also played my drum inside the pyramid, and there was a definite sense that these walls are rigid. Well, not rigid, solid. I mean, you can see that they're actually just very lovely polished copper piping, and there's nothing in between. But when I played my drum, I really got the sensation that the sound was bouncing off something solid, because when you use a drum for healing, it's the way that we scan the body. So you get to attune your ear to the different sounds of the drum when it's hitting something solid or something dense. And it was definitely the vibrations, the sound was bouncing off what seemed like walls. which is very interesting. So I've only had it a few days, and those are my experiences so far. But I'm finding it as a tool for meditation. It's very concentrates the mind, and this is where I think that we all need something that perhaps takes us out of our ordinary lives, our ordinary days, to have the discipline to sit down and do some meditation. I use my drum or my rattle generally, but I'm finding having this up in the room is kind of like calling to me all the time to come and sit in it. So just going back to the chaos that is the world at the moment. I woke up the other day with an overwhelming feeling of it wasn't panic, but it was just being overwhelmed by the stuff that's going on around the world. And, my first reaction is to kind of, like everybody, is to kind of get bogged down in that, to think, oh my goodness, where are we going with this? And especially in the UK, the energy is incredibly heavy here at the moment. I mean, we've got all this stuff with, our government is in total chaos. It doesn't seem to be able to do the job that it was elected to do, whether it's addressing gangs of men attacking, girls, of hordes of people illegally coming into the country, whether it's these seemingly, and I'm not, not pointing fingers at anybody, but it seems to me that these same men that are coming in illegally into the country are also creating chaos in the streets. It's not just behind closed doors somewhere. It's actually in the streets. I'm seeing more and more footage of vulnerable women being harassed in the street, and even not vulnerable women, young girls, are being harassed by men who have a completely different culture, that think that they come to this country and, maybe the women here are for their taking. And I do believe that, they are being told this by, their leaders, that this country is here for their benefit. They can come and get everything for free, and they can do what they like. It seems they have no respect for the police or anything else. So that I found, I just happened to open a news reel, and I was confronted by this horrendous situation that was going on in London, where the police were involved, and the men that they were trying to apprehend had no respect for anybody, not even the police or anything. And it just seemed to me as if it was really chaotic and even demonic in its, in their actions. And then, I look at some other thing, and there's news about, young teenage 13, 14, 15-year-olds in America who are committing horrific murders. There are people that are so addicted to drugs that they can't even stand up straight. That is it fentanyl or something that has this weird effect on people, where they're just kind of like hanging statues in the street. And it just seemed to me so overwhelming. I found it really just too much to take in, and things like, oh, well, I'm not going to get into all of it, but it was just, I started the day thinking, oh my goodness, this is just overwhelming. And do I really want to live in a world that is so dark? I mean, some things that are going on are just, I can't believe that normal human beings behave like this, and that there must be some stronger force that is guiding them. You know, from a shamanic point of view, I believe that there are dark forces at work, and that we need to take every step available to not so much protect ourselves from it, because if our vibration is high enough, if our energy is light enough, and we're connecting to the light, then they can't touch us anyway. So it's not a case of, setting up a wall around yourself. It's a case of lifting your vibration out of that dark energy. And so, so I was just going to talk about ways that I can do that for myself. So first off, I start my day with a daily practice, and it's drumming for me. So I call in the elements. I call in my spirit helpers, and generally just send prayers out to the universe to lift my spirits. And that always works without fail, every day for half an hour. I start my day with half an hour's worth of drumming. And, coming back to the pyramid, so I bought this pyramid because I believe it has a lot of properties that can also assist me in this lifting of my vibration. So I drum in here, as I said before. I just sit and meditate. Sometimes I sit with music playing. But I do feel as if it's got a really powerful energy. It's lifting me up. It's clearing my chakras. If you sit with your head underneath the capstone, and I do feel it getting hot when I'm meditating, that you can feel the energy running up and down from my crown chakra, up, down, through all my chakras, down to the earth star beneath me. And that's a really nice way to concentrate your mind, if you like. And there's lots of ways to do it. You can walk, the Power of 8 meditation, which I think I've done a video on. And also to get out into nature. I mean, that is such a healing thing to do. And I'm very lucky I have Rafi, the healing dog, who likes to go for a walk every morning. So, even if I've got 1,000,001 other things to do, he makes sure that I go outside and have at least a half an hour walk in the morning. And I usually do a longer one in the afternoon. But getting out into nature, and then I always leave my phone behind. Well, not always. If I think I'm going to do a video, then I take it with me. But I usually leave my phone behind, so I'm not disturbed, and I am really connecting to everything in nature. And at the moment, the birds are singing like mad. There are some little fledglings around that are busy calling to mum, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. And, when was the last time you heard or you noticed the bird song? It's very easy to rush around in our day and not notice that the birds are calling. And to just notice that where we are with the leaves that are coming out. There's an old country saying that oak before ash, we're in for a splash, or ash before oak, we're in for a soak. And I think the oak has come out first this year, so hopefully it's going to be really nice weather again, like it was last year. But to notice things like that, to notice when the leaves are coming out, to notice which hedgerow plants are in bloom, to notice the birds in the hedgerows. There's a little white, it's a sparrow, a little white sparrow in the hedgerow just down the lane here that always comes to greet me. It's so sweet. And, whatever you want to believe about that, but I always think birds are a representation of past spirits that have passed on. So I always associate the robin with my grandmother, but this little white sparrow is obviously one of my many family members who have passed on, that have just come to say hello from time to time. And to notice the water when I walk past the stream. What is the water saying today? And I like to sing that song that I shared on my last video, to just honour the water as we're walking. And that half an hour walk really brings me into a place of calm, where I've released all that stuff about what's going on in the world, because personally I can't do anything about it. I can't change the oil prices to make it easier for people to get around. I can't stop the war in Iran. I can't do anything about these gangs up in the north of England, personally. I guess if I lived up there, I could, work with community members to make a community stronger. And I guess that's what we can do, each of us can do in our own village or spaces, to really strengthen the community ties. It's very easy to go to work, come home, watch the telly, go to bed, and not interact with any of your neighbours or anything. I mean, a lovely example the other day here was my next door neighbour is 101, and I've talked about her before because she is just the most amazing woman. Still lives on her own, cooks, chops wood, everything. She was brought up on a farm, lived on a farm all her life, has a very healthy diet. Anyway, she was 101 last November, and the county council has decided to give her a prize for all her contribution of just being an amazing woman to the village. And so we all went up to the village hall the other day, and she was presented by the county councillor from Llandrindod Wells, who came and presented her with some flowers and a plaque and a little rather lovely silver hawk. I think it was a hawk brooch. But 50 people turned out, 50 of the villagers, which are pretty well spread around the place because it's a farming community, turned out to honour her. And I just thought, wow, how amazing is that 50 people took time out of their day to just come and spend, even if it was 10 minutes, just to acknowledge her and to just show willing that they are part of that everybody is part of this community. And I have to say, if anybody's in trouble, there's always people willing to help. And I think that's a very good way of strengthening our resolve, if you like, that when everything seems so bonkers out there, that if we have a good tribe around us, then that helps a great deal. If you do get into trouble, then you have somebody to turn to. It's so important to build your tribe, even if they're not people that you perhaps would spend a lot of time socializing with. That's not the point. The point is that that everybody knows where they stand in this sort of growing organic community. I'm having my kitchen done in a couple of weeks' time, and everybody who's going to be working here, whether it's the plumber, the electrician, the guy that's doing the kitchen and what have you, they're all local. They're all from this area. This 2 miles. It's just great. And so, yeah, so we're not responsible necessarily for fixing the wider world, but we are responsible for building our community so that we don't feel alone. And that I feel that's really important. And things like meditation, whether you call it meditation or what, I mean, I call, I'm just sitting. I'm just sitting and allowing things to percolate through me. And when you're quiet, or even when you're not quiet, if you're just concentrating on drumming or listening to music, then it allows spirit to drop some thoughts into your head. The other thing that I do is symbol drawing. Now, the more general name for this is sigils, which is kind of in the pagan tradition. It's a way of manifesting things, and there are lots of people that teach you how to do sigil magic, if you like. But I don't do it with the word magic in mind. I do it as a way of manifesting. So I either draw specific shapes using an intention, an affirmation, and then I make a symbol out of that affirmation. Or more recently, I've started drawing just using a dot for the shape. Now there's some Colette Baron Reid, who makes the oracle cards, has brought a book out called, I think it's called The Art of Manifesting, and I did buy it because I thought it looked really interesting, and it's a really interesting way to concentrate the mind. Go look it up. It's really cool. So doing something like that, where you're concentrating on drawing, that it's a doodle, that you're filling your page with lines, and as you're drawing, you're setting your intentions, and by drawing in specific ways, it's not magic, it's just you concentrating your intention that you're sending out to the universe, and that can be super powerful. So again, that's a way to raise your vibration, to help you just leave that heaviness behind. What else do I do? I've just generally gardening, being outside as much as you can, growing things, making things from things that you grow in your garden are all ways of raising your vibration and taking you away from the heaviness of all that stuff that's going on. So if you have any different ways that you like to take your mind out of the chaos and into something that raises your vibration, that raises you, lifts you up, can you drop me a comment in the comment box, and let's start a conversation about it, because I think it's really important. We can feel, really heavy, and if you don't have a good group of people around you, it can become overwhelming. So yeah, let's do that. And I will see you shortly. As I say, I'm getting the kitchen done in a couple of weeks, so I'm having this mental time of trying to clear out cupboards, which I've had stuff in them for donkey's years. So it's taking a lot of my time and energy. Anyway, I'm going to take Rafi out for a walk now, and I will catch you all again soon. Ciao for now.